Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good night, depending what part of the world you are in. Today, I will be talking to you about how to run an effective meeting. My name is Sherry Dosler. I am the CEO of Sherry Dosler Enterprises, as well as the Minister of Faith Above Ministries. I want to welcome you to join my channel here, where you can definitely share it and subscribe. My goal in having this conversation is to help you have more productive meetings. Have you ever been in a meeting where you felt like the meeting was vague? There was no purpose in the meeting, no clue as to why you were invited in the meeting, or you feel like while you're in the meeting, you don't know what's going on. There seems to be meandering topics. Topics just keep going on and on and on. Nothing was decided in the meeting, as well as you feel like you wasted your time. It was the most annoying time of your life, right? Well, let me tell you what an ideal meeting looks like. An ideal meeting, fix the camera. An ideal meeting is a meeting that has purpose. Not only the meeting has purpose, but everyone knows why they're there prior to the meeting happening. There was an agenda that was set, and the agenda is very clear. There's also the purpose for the meeting is achieved in the meeting, as well as it being documented. And the other thing is, at the end of the meeting, there is a sense of accomplishment. So today I'm going to help you. How do you prepare for your meeting? How do you run a meeting smooth and effective, right? The first thing you need to know is that your meeting, there should be a plan in place for your meeting, which is your agenda, and there should also be a purpose. This video has 3 parts to it. The first part is plan and purpose. The second part is knowing your audience. And the third part is planning your agenda. Today, we're just going to talk about the plan and the purpose. So the first thing we need to do is, number 1, make a plan, right? You don't want to wing anything, all right? You don't want to be unprepared. You don't want to, make your employees or your staff or members of your team or anyone feel like you don't know what you're doing. Because trust me, people know when you're not prepared. So you don't want to wing anything, and you want to give some thought and take the time out to plan your meeting. Some of the questions that you should be asking yourself as you are planning the meeting is, number 1, what needs to be accomplished, right? What do you want to accomplish in that meeting? Number 2, what needs to be decided and agreed on? Right? There may be some things that you guys may need to decide as a team, or some things that already has been decided, but further agreement is required, right? You should also think about what should happen in the meeting. What do you think the atmosphere of your meeting should be like? What should everyone take away from the meeting? You definitely want everyone to walk away with what you intended for your meeting. And number 5, can this be accomplished any other way? Sometimes I've been called to meetings, and I've learned that certain things can be done in an email, then other things can be done in a text. So determine whether what you want to happen in the meeting can be done in any other way, right? Look at the time we're living in right now. A lot of things are happening through telecommunications, through Zoom, social media, different platforms. But you want to decide how you want to have this meeting. Is it in person? And definitely what can be accomplished, right? So what are examples? Let me give you some exemplars of meetings, right? You can have a meeting if you're going to initiate a new process or a new idea, right? The other thing is, usually when you're going to initiate a new idea, it's called a kickoff meeting, all right? Number 2, you can have a meeting where you're going to decide upon the next steps. So after kickoff meeting, this is where you would see this type of meeting where you're discussing what the next steps can be for the project or the initiative that you want to take place. Number 3, another meeting can be a meeting of notification. It could be a meeting about just notifying people information and stating what needs to happen going forward. So there are definitely different types of meetings. And you want to think about all these things to figure out what type of meeting do I want to have, right? Number 4, you can have a meeting where you're selecting from different options that are presented before you and your team. Or you can decide, number 5, if the meeting is just a few things that you want people to know, right, and discuss and decide. So there's different kinds of meetings, and as you're planning your meeting, you should be thinking about what kind of meeting do I want to have, right? What is my purpose? What is my goal in this meeting? Specific types of purposes of meeting, there are 2 types. One is called a strategic plan purpose meeting, and the other one's called a stated plan purpose meeting. So there are 2 different types of meetings. The strategic plan purpose is a meeting where you plan to accomplish something, all right? So here's where you need to understand specifically what the goals are, right? And what are the roles and project that needs to happen in the plan going forward. In a strategic plan as well, people need to get to know one another so that they can work well together. So that's something you definitely should think about when doing a strategic meeting. And third, everyone should understand the importance of the project. So as you are planning for your meeting, it's important that you understand the importance of what you're doing and decide how you want to relay that information so that they can understand the importance of the meeting. The other type of meeting is the stated plan purpose. A stated plan purpose meeting is a meeting where you introduce where you can introduce a new project. Again, always get to know the team and pretty much review the timeline and deliverables for whatever project or initiative that you have in plan. So remember, there are 2 types of meeting. One is a strategic plan meeting, and the other one is the stated plan purpose. In a strategic type meeting, less is better in most cases. Where you can work with a small group of people so that you can strategically plan your meetings. And then in a stated plan meeting is where mostly you'll see the large group, where that small core group will bring information to the large group and provide the stated plan. So again, let me just go over that so everyone's very clear. A strategic plan purpose meeting, it provides support for change. You definitely want to bring up any hopes or concerns, and this is a time definitely to unify your team. In a stated plan purpose, you really want to review what happened in a larger meeting context and answer any questions that people may have. So those are the 2 types of meeting in general when you're running a meeting, all right? The other thing is that you should give thought as you're having a meeting. Think about, if it's a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting, all right? Is it a team meeting? Because as you have your meetings, you can definitely have reoccurrences of meetings so that you are on target, you have a timeline, and you are effectively going about the project or initiative that you have at hand. There's also specific types of teams when you're having a meeting. You can have teams for different things, or you can have the same team but do different things. For example, one team, you could have a team just for new ideas. You could have a team in regards to conflict, team in conflict. You could have a team when you're changing the direction and you're working with a change management plan or working with a set of priorities. You could have a team that focuses on long-range planning, or the same team focus on that. You can have a team for brainstorming or focus groups. There's also teams that's created just for idea selection. So again, you can have different teams do these different type of items, or you can have the same team and you're doing different types of meetings, because these meetings have different purposes, right? Other considerations that you want to have when you're planning a meeting: make sure that there are takeaways. Ask yourself, what is the objective of my meeting, and what will the members take away from the meeting? So what do you want them to leave with? Oftentimes, does it call for an action? Is there an action plan? required, or action call, as some say. What is the comeback? What is the follow-up for that meeting? So it's important you know what the takeaways are for your meeting, and that should be done as you are planning your meeting. You also want to separate the different purposes, because a meeting can have multiple purposes. Separate and define the different purposes of your meeting. And also look to see if there's any unifying themes throughout your meeting. And that could either be a strategic or a stated plan type of meeting. All right. So I think I've given some information how to run your team, how to run an effective meeting. All right. So again, just to review, prior to having a meeting with your team, make sure you plan, that there is a plan, right? And that there is a purpose. So your purpose should either be strategic or it should be stated, all right? Ask yourself, what are the desired results for my meeting, all right? Think about what your desired results are. And also keep in the back of your head that you may or may not know the specific outcome. Sometimes a meeting might have different terms, so you have to allow room for buffet spaces, or allow room for people to share and the meeting to shift in a different direction. But as long as you have an agenda in place, you can always go back to where you left off. All right. So leave some wiggle room for interruption or distraction, or difference of opinions and personalities, which we will talk about in our next subject, which is part 2. So this is part 1 of how to run an effective meeting. So we talked about plan and purpose. Part 2 will be about knowing your audience, right? Who are your attendees in your meeting? And part 3 will work specifically on the agenda. So tips to give away as your meeting, especially if it's strategic, don't give it all away. Oftentimes people can't take too much information at the same time. Number 2, keep it simple, right? Always keep it simple. And last, keep it compelling. Okay. So again, thank you for joining me on my channel. My name is Sherry Dosler. I am the CEO of Sherry Dosler Enterprises, as well as a minister at Faith Above Ministries. Check out my website, which are located below. Definitely like, share, and subscribe. I hope this was beneficial to all my leaders, to all the entrepreneurs, managers, no matter what position you may have. Hopefully this was beneficial to you and knowing how to run an effective meeting. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.